What's up, people? Yesterday in Uzbekistan we had one of the craziest game of 2026, maybe the craziest game of the year between Ian Nepomniachtchi and Vidit. Both are two very aggressive players and they give us this great game. So let's analyze. Okay, Nepo open with d4, knight f6 by Vidit, c4, e6, knight c3, and they enter in the Indian, which may be the most employed defense against d4 in the elite. e3 sarcasm, and here the main move is bishop d3, but Nepo goes for a3. Reaching a very sharp position because after bishop takes, pawn takes. Now black c4 pawn is going to be so weak and white c pawn is going to be so quick, and black have some plans like this to try to capture the pawn. But at the same time, white have a great center and is going to advance his central pawns, trying to attack the black king. So this is a typical fight. Black tries to take the c4 pawn, and at the same time white tries to attack in the center and in the king side. Okay, here Vidit played b6, but I'm going to recommend the move d6, who is the best move according to the machine and is the move with the better score in all the games that there are in the database. So for that reason I recommend d6, bishop d3, and here e5. That's the idea. Placing all the pawns in dark squares, because okay, we trade the dark square bishop, we have only light square bishop. So it's very typical this plan of just place all the pawns in dark squares. And knight e2 by black could be the main line, e4. Bishop b1, bishop b6. Now we're going to take directly the c4 pawn. Take, knight c6, for example. Rook b1, rook b8. And the position is more or less equal. But white, black is slightly better. Other of the ideas of playing the move e4 is that the c1 bishop is very, very bad. And with black we haven't the dark square bishop, so our main goal should be just try to keep the white dark square bishop at least control, and try that the white dark square bishop not activate. b6 by Vidit is another normal move, just going for the c4 pawn or trying to develop the bishop via b7. Black have both plans. Bishop d3, bishop b7 by Vidit, f3, c5. That's very typical too. Fixing the pawn here on c4. e4 by Nepo. It's true that he made e4 in 2 tempos, but he shouldn't make that to open this bishop. And with the f3 pawn, this bishop is very, very bad. 98 by Vidit, because e4, e5 is coming in some line, so it's very typical to place here the knight. The knight could came to d6 one day, or you can play f6, e5, so the queen is coming here one day to h4. So knight e8 is a useful move, because especially to avoid the pin on bishop g5 and the move e5. Yeah, we are avoiding both moves. Knight h3, and here Vidit made an inaccurate move. Nepo is playing everything just without things, so he have everything well prepared, and Vidit here made an inaccurate move, playing queen h4, because the knight on h3 sometimes goes to f2, so after queen h4, knight f2, we have no problems to place the knight on f2, and it's not clear what the queen is making on h4. Knight c6 was a better move by Vidit, bishop e3, and now e5. Just placing the pawns in dark squares and trying that these pieces are not open and the knight cannot go to f4. Here we have two responses. For example, if d takes, now knight takes e5, and looks like black is fine here, because the pawn structure of white is very bad and this bishop now is closed. But d5 is the most annoying move here. And now knight a5, everything is so concrete, because if black doesn't play good, he could be completely lost. f4, knight d6, going fast for the c4 pawn, and who is very typical in this type of positions, white sacrifice the c4 pawn just to continue the attack, because black usually needs many tempos to take the c4 pawn, so white is going to use that to attack in the king side or to expand in the center. Knight here, bishop c1, f6, sword castle, knight a5, bishop e3. Here we can return, take both bishops, or just queen c8. But okay, white is fine here with the pawn down, because this pawn gives him white so much space and have good perspective attack. So, but this is very typical in type of position that black goes for the c4 pawn at the same time white attacking the king side. Okay, queen h4 by Vidit, knight f4 by Nepo, good move. Now bishop 96, bishop e3, f5, it takes f4. Vidit tries to play aggressive, but white is better here with great move g3, attacking the queen, sacrificing a pawn instead of just move the bishop. It's okay, it's clear that if you move the bishop, black can recapture or black can play just 95. Here black is completely fine, of course, but great move by Nepo g3, attacking the queen and sacrificing the pawn. F takes, ace takes, queen takes, and rook h3, queen g1 and bishop f1. Till here Nepo is playing a perfect game, just aggressive, and he have his pieces open, the rook, he take on c5, a perfect game by Nepo till here. But after queen g6 here he made a strange mistake, because he take on b6. I don't really understand this move, because okay, if black captures here, you are recapturing with the bishop, and with c takes you are opening the a file for the rook. Here I have this good move, queen d7, rook f7, and you return to e2. This was playable, but here I have a move that I prefer instead of queen d7. Please stop here the video and put this position over the board or in the screen, and think what you could make here with white pieces. Okay, now I'm sure that you find the correct move with rook h2. The idea behind this move is playing with the rook to the queen side to attack. It's very typical, this passes from the rook from the queen side to the king side via e2 or sometimes via e3, but okay, in this position via e3 is more difficult. So via e3 with the pawn e4 are more common, but with the pawn e3 is very typical to play rook h2 to game to the king side. So rook h2 here was a great move, knight f6, now knight d3, okay, coming here, defending here, and the rook is coming to g2 and e2. And here or rook a2 or rook g2 are white advantage. So here Nepo had this very interesting idea. Instead of that, he take on b6 and he take on d7 later. Rook b1 here was slightly better. Queen d7. 95 was stronger by Vidit. He played rook f7. Because 95 was a piece sacrifice, but very interesting. 95, queen takes, and 96. For example, queen b6, knight here, and now the queen cannot escape from the rook's attack. All the time the rook are going to attack the queen, and white cannot escape. So this will be a draw. And if queen c7, knight takes, and we had this very sharp position where white have two pieces for the rook, but the white king is very open. So this is more or less balanced. 95 was very strong by black. Rook f7, instead of that, queen d2, bishop a6, 93. And here Vidit fail again. Well, rook d7 played by Vidit is playable, but I think e5 was stronger, because you are avoiding knight f4. And if queen h4, queen h2 now black can take on h6, on c4, sorry. Because okay, here with rook d7, queen here, you can take here because knight f4. Or in this position the same, you can take here because knight f4 is coming. So that's why e5 is so interesting, because you are threatening bishop takes c4. That's the idea. Because rook d7, queen h4, and now white is fine. Queen f6 by Vidit, rook h7, queen c3, king f2, queen a1, rook sacrifice by Nepo. And here he had a completely winning move. Okay, he played rook h8, who is fine. White is still winning, but I think that e4, e5 was stronger. Just closing this diagonal and not allowing the queen to enter to came to the defense. Yes, rook h5, queen h5, king f7, queen h5, g6, and queen h6 is coming, and there is checkmate to the black king. So e5 was the strongest move of the position, just blockading the a1 queen and not allowing this queen to return to the defense. So great move e5. Instead of that, Nepo play rook h8, who is winning too, but it's not the same advantage. Queen h5, d6, queen h6, and okay, he's winning anyway. He take the queen, knight f4. He shouldn't hurry to take in on g7 because the queen is pinned, so you can take the queen when you want. Bishop f1, queen g6, rook here, and here came another decisive mistake by Neponiaski. Because okay, he have a completely winning position with 1 hour in the clock or more than 1 hour in the clock. So I think that thinking a little bit, he can just find the best move, who is knight h5, attacking g7. And the other idea of have the knight on h5 is that you are threatening knight f6. So I don't know how black and added to that, you are coming with bishop h6, the king is taking the bishop, so black cannot defend the position. For example, if b plays knight e5 as in the game, now we have the different move knight f6. If rook f7, now bishop h6, or take on e7 and take on e6, it's completely clear that knight h5 is very easy, that here white is winning. Instead of that, Nepo, who is playing very fast during all the game, he played knight takes e6, allowing knight e5. And now the idea of knight f6 is not in the game. So knight e5, very annoying. Queen e3. And here the game is unclear, but the advantage of Nepo is that he have 1 hour in the clock and B just have 1 minute. So that's the white advantage, but here the knight e6 is a huge blunder. Knight e5, queen g3, bishop c4, knight g5, knight d3, king d2. Here Virid misses again, but okay, he have just 1 minute in the clock, it's not easy. But when you have not so much time in the clock, and when you are playing with your king exposed and without against a queen, you should try to keep your pieces close to each other. So rook 8 here was the most logical move, keeping the pieces close against the queen. Knight h5, strange move to play with just 1 minute in the clock against a queen. Queen g4, knight f6, queen f5, rook f8. But here we miss the move e5, who is losing a piece. He should give the knight, and now white is winning again, because okay, he recaptured the piece, and the material could be the same, just queen and a pawn against two rooks. But the black king is so exposed, and against a queen this is decisive. Rook c7. And yeah, in the move before the control, Nepo play a4, who is logic, but bishop d4 just tying all the black pieces was stronger. a4, okay, is normal move, but here again he have the opportunity of play bishop d4, just tying all the black pieces, and black can move. Instead of that, he take the pawn, very careless move, just allowing knight d7 and taking the bishop. So strange play by Nepo. Okay, white still putting pressure, but black can defend here the position with rook fd4. That's a great idea, because if h6, now there are going to be 3-4 repetition with the rook. White cannot avoid the checks. If queen g6 here could be a possibility to still play it, but okay, the game is not clear, of course. Rook f8 by Virid, a6. Okay, this is more or less forced, and finally white managed to reach this position of queen against rook and a bishop. Who, okay, the first time that I saw the position, I thought that this was a draw, but looks like the bishop is bad placed here, and this queen is so in the corner, and the king is coming here, so the position is winning for white. Well, it's strange that rook and a bishop and it's a queen was winning, but the great position of the white king, the good position of the white queen, and the bad position of the bad bishop of this bishop is white have all his pieces perfect, and black have these pieces strange. So this is winning for white, but of course the position is not easy. Nepo, after king g7, who again he have 1 hour in the clock, instead of thinking the best move, he just moves so fast. He play queen d6, who is not good. It's better to play queen e4, because just black have no good moves in this position. It's one of the techniques in this type of endgames. Just give the turn to your opponent, let that your opponent move, and he's going to improve. Yeah, he can improve the position. For example, king f8, king e6. So black have no useful moves. So queen e4 was great. Queen d6 looks similar like queen e4. The problem is that allows bishop g2. Well, of course, it's a very strong move. It's very hard to understand why this move is a draw and the rest of moves are lost. So king j8 by Virid, another mistake, but okay, the position is very hard. Here Nepo miss again, he should play your queen e6 or queen b8, but I say the position is very hard to play. Queen d4, another mistake. King h7, again mistake. Bishop b5, bishop h3 are the two drawish moves. Hard to understand. Queen d4, king h7, queen e4. Here again, another mistake by by Nepo. He should play queen c6. He played queen d5, and finally we did find it the correct move, bishop h3, trying to improve the bishop, and that's the only drawing move, but the position is still being difficult for black, of course. After queen e5, fine, Bidit miss again, because here he should play king g8. Okay, it's the most logical move, because after king h7 looks like with queen h2 white is winning. So you should play king g8, and I suppose that he was afraid about some king h6 move, but king f8 is, and black can hold the position, is a miracle, but black can hold. For example, if king g6, now black can defend. Okay, he made the mistake, king h7, and now after queen h2, just Nepo is winning because he's going to take the bishop. Again, we did have this idea of rook h5, king here, king g6, but okay, now he can just play first check and then take the bishop. So this same game is winning for white. I remember an online game between Nepo and Magnus that Nepo cannot win the same game versus Carlsen. But okay, in a classical game, was easy for Nepo to win the same game. Maybe one day I should make a video in the channel just explaining more deeply this same game of queen against rook. I want to make some videos of this type of endgames. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. It was very, very amazing with queen against many pieces. Nepo always give so. Nepo lost the first round and Bidit too, so now Nepo come back with 1 point of 2, and Bidit is in the bottom of the leaderboard with 0 points of 2. So let's see if Bidit can come back in this tournament. Bye bye.